I've been just sitting here in this chair as I usually do on my day off, drinking some good old H2O water as I usually do, not to brag, and eating some almonds and just thinking to myself, oh yeah, that's right, I have a vinyl collection series that I haven't done another part for it in like a month and a half, and I figured now would be a good time to do it, as this is now part 33, so many parts, and just about to finish up the O's. So there's still quite a handful of more parts to go after this. But other than that, what's going to be playing in the background is going to be arguably one of the first ever breakcore acts that ever existed, that being Nasabluton with their 2001 album, Dog Control. These guys are from Australia, and they consider themselves like, I don't know, cuntcore, or like they just really never took themselves seriously. But the music that they created arguably can be considered some of the earliest forms of breakcore, as it fuses like breakbeat type of drumming mixed with just really noisy, harsh, kind of like electronic music within it. And just over the past couple of months, honestly, I haven't listened to anything that could be considered black metal. Like, my playlist has literally just been His Infernal Majesty, you know, or him, and just crazy electronic music. That's really all it's been. But I will say, if you are into breakcore and you want to get into Nasabluton, the one thing that's really appealing about them is that, unlike either maybe Igor or Venetian Snares, that's really schizophrenic sounding with breakcore, Nasabluton just has way more of a straightforward, really gritty, noisy sound with them, and I think they attach their sound more with just traditional hardcore, but just layered with just such noisy, kind of like glitchy percussions. And I don't know, I just find this album so addicting to listen to. So again, if you're interested in breakcore, definitely get familiar with Nasabluton. Part 33 is going to start off with Opeth, that being Blackwater Park. Yes, believe it or not, I have an Opeth record within my collection. I say that because I've been getting so many comments as to what will be in the O's within my collection. Everyone's asking if I have Opeth. And this is the only record I have of theirs on vinyl. Not because I dislike them, but more of the fact that I just never can picture myself obsessing over them to the point of buying multiple records. This is the only thing I have of theirs, and it's probably going to stay like that for the time being. So I got this, again, when I first started getting into getting records at a Newberry Comics, and surprisingly, for the price I paid for it, for like, you know, retail price, this is actually a used second pressing of it, which is quite the find. But yeah, Blackwater Park is like the fan favorite for a lot of Opeth fans that I've noticed. Mainly because it perfectly balances more of the progressive rock and metal sound along with the death metal aspect about them that a lot of people wish they would go back to. But that's just not going to happen, because Michael is way more interested in being a progressive rock band, but not like I really care, because I don't keep up with them all that much. But the two tracks in here I really dig a lot are Bleak and Harvest. Those two songs I listen to quite a bit. But other than that, I don't really listen to it all that much. But when I'm in the mood for like melancholic music, more often than not, I will put this album on the turntable. Other than that, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with all the track listings, comes on a gatefold with lyrics and a band photo, and side double LP that just come on standard black vinyl. Up next is going to be Orgy of Carrion with their album Obscured Ceremonies Under Hell Moon. I'm laughing a little bit because I just remembered when I first discovered this band, I called it Orgy of Karen. I called it Orgy of Karen, and for like a month I was like, yeah, it's Orgy of Karen, and so many people made fun of me for it, which they have every right to. But anyway, Orgy of Carrion is a Massachusetts-based raw black metal band, and I remember, again, around the mid-2010s, like 2015, 2016, a one-man obscure raw black metal thing was such a big deal, and if you were going to get an LP pressing, it would sell out within seconds. And I remember it so vividly, having a Google Hangout call with, I think it was Caleb, Richard, and Michael, all my internet friends, and we were just like, Final Agony is about to put it up, and he just refreshed the page non-stop for this. And I remember it finally went up, we all bought it, and it sold out within under a minute. And I laugh at that so much now, because if you ever are like anticipating a raw black metal vinyl release, and you miss out on it, and you just go, oh, pancakes and butterscotch, I missed out on it, how will I ever get this record? I'm going to have to pay like substantial amounts of money on Discogs for a flipper price. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Whenever a raw black metal band says it's a one and only time pressing, they are full of fucking shit. Because 2 years later, they did a repress for it, and you can get it just so accessible now that it's just so full of shit. Like, I'm done with the game of like hitting F5 to refresh pages online. They'll always do a repress if it's in high demand. But yeah, it happened with this, unsurprisingly. And just to prove to you, it is the first press because it has like that DIY type of layout with it, as it's just glued on. It's not just one whole, you know, print, which is quite neat. But other than that, with the music, like I said, it's raw black metal. It's very aggressive raw black metal. It's harsh, it's hellish, and if you're in the mood for just nothing fancy, super suit and tie with no bullshit, just raw black metal, as I just stated, Orgy of Carrion will do just that for you. Will definitely hit the spot, and that's really it. There's nothing else to say about it. Other than that, it just comes on standard black vinyl. And yeah, really, this is the only album I really care for by this band, because others are just a little bit either too raw or just get a bit too cookie cutter. But something about Obscured Ceremonies Under Hell Moon, the riffs actually kind of like flesh out quite a bit, and it's really harsh and actually quite fun to listen to. Alright, so the next couple of records are all by the same band, and it's honestly going to take up at least half of all the records shown within this part. So it starts off with the debut album by Auronzi Pazuzu titled, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. Auronzi Bazuzu is a Finnish black metal band, I guess you could say, that's very avant-garde. And I say black metal, I guess, because it's like, it just barely borderlines on the sound to the point that there's so many other subgenres mixed in with it, that it's a lot of psychedelic rock, space rock, and genres of the sort that get very, you know, trippy and abstract-like, but it still has like the nightmarish atmosphere of black metal attached with it, which is why so many people immediately categorize them as just an avant-garde black metal band, or arguably they're more psychedelic rock with just black metal tinges popping up. But with the debut album, I would definitely say this is the most black metal sounding, as riffs on here kind of sound more of that in vein of like Darkthrone compared to what they're going to sound like later on. That it's really more as if like Transylvanian Hunger, but instead of being influenced by anger and alcohol, it's influenced by mushrooms and weed. It's basically what the debut Auronzi Bazuzu album sounds like, and it's very interesting. And I don't know, whenever I'm in the mood for just like trippy music, Auronzi Bazuzu definitely hits the spot. But this is a recent repress, co-released by both Savar and 20 Bucks Spin. So I'm pretty sure it's still available on 20 Bucks Spin, as they usually keep a lot of their records in print. As for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with all the track listings, comes on a gatefold, and this LP pressing comes on split color of purple and clear with black splatter. Then I have the two-way split between Auronzi Bazuzu and Candy Cane. Really, I bought this for the collection piece because I really have everything actually by Auronzi Bazuzu on LP. So it was really just more of, again, as I stated, a collection piece. Other than that, Candy Cane, the discovery of them was really the standout within it, as they are a punk rock band that's very experimental and just weird, and not really something I'm familiar with within the genre of punk rock. And one thing that's really weird about Candy Cane is that their song titles, if you can see that, they're all just fucking numbers. Like, how do you remember the songs you want to play? Like, yeah, I want to hear the song 16061978. Like, such a banger. And sometimes I really enjoy 03, 01, 2007. Like, I guess they're dates to something, how it kind of comes off, but it's just such a weird way to title your songs. But one other thing I think is pretty neat about the layout for this that not a lot of bands do, even though I'm not really crazy for splits, is that both Auronzi Pazuzu and Candy Cane combine their logos together, which I thought was pretty neat. But other than that, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings. Comes on a gatefold double LP that come on blood red vinyl, and it's limited to 444 copies. Continuing on with even more Auronzi Bazuzu, I also have their sophomore full-length, that being Cause Monument. This is my personal favorite within their discography. I believe it's the longest album, as it passes over the hour mark within its overall runtime. And I would say that black metal kind of plays second fiddle to that of doom metal, especially stoner doom, within the influences and styling within the album, because a lot of these riffs are really stretched out and just sound way more doom metal focused. But even then, I would say the thing I really enjoy about it is just how monumental it sounds, but it's just such a nightmarish and trippy ride from start to finish. Around the mid portion of this album, the keyboards really kick in more, and it just gives us much more of a psychedelic rock and metal sound, but again, it just comes off so nightmarish and trippy, and that's what I really enjoy about this album, and it runs for over an hour long, so for me, this is their magnum opus of what they've done so far. Auronzi Bazuzu, I would say, is really a very consistent band, which is saying quite a lot, as their songwriting is just so inconsistent. Like, they always shake it up, and their styling is just so unorthodox. I mean, to be a black metal band but also have influences of space rock, psychedelic rock, and just anything that's like really psychedelic to begin with, there's not really that many black metal bands doing this style, and I think that's what makes them just such a standout of experimental metal bands going right now. And I always anticipate new material by them, which is probably why I ended up buying everything that they have within their discography. Other than that, this is a Savart and 20 Buck Spin co-release repress, again from 2017. So as I stated, you want to get all of these Oranssi Pazuzu represses, go to 20 Buck Spin if you're in the States like myself. As for the layout and packaging with this, you have album artwork, backside with more trippy artwork and all the track listings. Comes on a gatefold, but it's triple panel that has all the lyrics and band photo inside within it. Double LP, and this pressing comes on like a merge color of like pinkish red and baby blue with a bit of splatter. Really crazy looking. Right after that, I have the third full length by Auronzi Bazuzu, which I would easily say is my least favorite within their catalog, which I don't know why I just said that with just such an upbeat attitude within my voice, just being like, it's my least favorite. But anyway, I just really don't spin this album all that much when I'm in the mood for them, because there's really nothing metal about it other than the harsh vocals utilized within it, as it sounds more as if like a very dense, like stoner rock, psychedelic rock band. Like instrumentally, there's nothing really all that heavy about it all that much. I guess that was the direction they were going with this album. I guess the standout features that I do like about it instrumentally, again, are the keyboards, because it just gives off such a weird, abstract, and just unsettling sound. It's just always just such a nightmarish, trippy sound they go for instrumentally, which is what I really dig. And other than that, I don't really have much else to say about it, because as I stated, it's my least favorite of theirs. But again, you can get this at either 20 Buck Spin or Savart, this LP. It's the 2013 first press, not like that really matters. And other than that, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings. Comes on a gatefold with the lyrics inside, and I like the fact that one side is all the Finnish lyrics and the other side is the English translation for it. However, this LP does come with a poster of the album artwork, and this vinyl press comes on silver with a blue swirl. As well, I have their fourth full-length album. Again, another album that I can't pronounce, but I do know that the English translation for it is Vibrator, which is what a lot of people make a lot of jokes about it for. But anyway, This is Auronzi Bazuzu really bringing back more of the black metal influence within it. But make no mistake about it, it's still very trippy, psychedelic, and just offbeat from what you're accustomed to black metal sounding like. And I would say it's the most aggressive out of their catalog. But again, it's still got that really trippy, just psychedelic sound that just really... They've made all their own within the realms of black metal, and I dig it still quite a bit. I believe this is the first record I actually heard by them, and then after that I kind of obsessed over them for quite a bit. But yeah, really, at the end of the day, when it comes to starting off with what you should check out with Auronzi Bazuzu, literally listen to anything by them for, like, you know, the jump start for your dive into them, because they just play around with so many different styles and genres that they always keep their sound fresh. So whatever they're about to do within the upcoming years, I'll always be interested because it's always just a different take of being very trippy and psychedelic within black metal. Anyway, other than that, again, co-released by Savart and 20 Bucks Spin, and this is a first press. Not like that matters because they do a bajillion represses in all different colors. So for the layout and packaging with this, you have album artwork. Backside comes on a gatefold. It also includes an insert sheet with lyrics on one side and just a photo of the guy on the other. And this LP press, I'm not really sure if it's going to show that much in that lighting, comes on royal blue. Then I have the EP that they released back in 2017, and if you're wondering, yes, you have seen this artwork before, because the artwork for the split that they did with Candy Cane is basically the exact same thing, only this is in red, and obviously this is in like turquoise blue or whatever. And it's literally all the material of the split they did with Candy Cane, just on its own release. Like, the tracks are identical, so there's really not much to talk about here with this, as it's the same thing from the past. But as for the layout and packaging within it, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings, and this LP edition comes on C blue. And the last record that is Auronzi Pazuzu related is going to be their latest album from 2020. That being this, that I can't pronounce because I'm just really not in the mood to butcher the Finnish language. But honestly, I didn't have any high expectations for this album, and it's not because this is the first release of theirs that's released under Nuclear Blast, which, by the way, I'm very surprised that a band like Auronzi Bazuzu that blends black metal, psychedelic rock, and just being very avant-garde and experimental would have just such a big enough following that they'd be signed to Nuclear Blast. I never thought that would happen. But good for them that they have that big of a fan base. But it wasn't because they were signed to Nuclear Blast. It's just I was so convinced now that all of the crazy, wacky ideas that this band has done, it's like, what more could they do with this sound? Like, they've released so much, and how can they still be this consistent? But to my surprise, this album is awesome. Again, it's still got that trippy nightmare sound, but it just comes off so much more cataclysmic and urgent while still being harmonizing, which is just... I just would not expect that with this band. And the keyboards, again, they're not as just like trippy. They come off more nightmarish and a bit harsh. It's just a really, really great. It's just, I'm just really surprised at just how consistent this band is. So I'm not going to doubt them the next time they announce their next release, because they're just still killing it to this day. And yeah, it was put out through Nuclear Blast, so if you want to get copies, they should be stocked up there. As for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings, comes on a gatefold, double LP that come on gray vinyl, but side D is etched, which hopefully it will show of the band logo, which is pretty cool. Oh man, now for some sketch, once again, within this vinyl collection series. Next up is Order of the Death's Head with their album Soldate Inconnu. I'm pretty sure that's the right way to say it. This is a NSBM band that I believe resides in France. And I used to have so many other records by these guys, but I ended up selling all of it besides this one. Because I came to the realization that other than Soldate Inconnu, Order of the Death's Head does absolutely nothing different from all the other NSBM bands with that very monotone, just riff styling and drumming that just doesn't really feel like there's any life within it. It's just hateful, and that's really the only adjective you can attach with it. It's just boring. Especially their last 2 releases, which were an EP and I believe a full length. It was just so boring, and I hated it. And it ended up selling all of them besides Soul Day Inking, because this is their only record that I would honestly say is above average. Mainly because the bass player within this album has a fretless bass, I believe, and you can just hear it throughout the album, and it just gives off like just such melodies and hooks throughout it. The last 2 tracks on this album are insanely catchy, and I dig them quite a bit. But other than that, really, there's nothing else about Or the Death's Head past this album that I think is good. The only other one is, I believe it's called Pogrom Ritual. It's the only other record worthy of getting, but again, it's blacklisted and impossible to get. This, however, how I got this, I kind of lucked out because, amazingly, it wasn't blacklisted on Discogs for a while, and I got it from a seller, from a dude, I believe, in Brazil, and it took like 5 months to get to me, and I thought I got bamboozled because of just how long it took. But yeah, it finally came in, and I was quite shocked to see that I actually own this record, as it's quite the rare piece, as it's limited to 88 copies. It was put out through both Darker Than Black and Breath of Pestilence. Not like that should be a shock. And yeah, other than that, I can't stress it enough. This is really the only record of theirs that's worthy of checking out. Other than that as well, the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listing, and just comes on a standard black vinyl. Oh my god, what a contrast for the next record. I can't believe these two are right next to each other within my record shelves. But yeah, next up, which is quite the difference from the previous record, is going to be Orville Peck, Pony. One of my personal favorite albums of 2019, and just to brag about it, I was just such a cool cat that I discovered Orville Peck way before he ever got big and famous as he is now, because he's getting a lot of attention. I know that he's played for some musical spots for late night shows. He got recognized by Lady Gaga, and he's just been playing in just front of like huge audiences now with all of his live shows. And how I discovered him, funny enough, was back when, with my old Instagram that I had before I deleted it, I used to follow Clipping, and on one of their stories they posted Orville Peck performing, and I remember like the crowd had to be like maybe 30 people max. I just remember looking at the guy thinking like, what the fuck is this dude wearing, and how does he sound like that? Like, I gotta check him out. And I believe it was the song either Dead of Night or Turn to Hate that I listened to, and immediately I was like, alright, I need to buy this record right now. I absolutely adore it. And yeah, his styles are kind of like a blend of like country meets shoegaze. I know a lot of people say he's like the slow dive version of Johnny Cash, but I also hear a bit of like Elvis, especially when his singing voice. But regardless of all the styles that you can pick out and influences you can notice within him, it's just really, really well done written country shoegaze blended together. Because it's the song on here, which is my personal favorite, Buffalo Run. The outro for that song is just straight up shoegaze, and it's easily my personal favorite song that I listen to over and over again. And I get so much enjoyment out of this record, and I can't wait to hear what he'll do next. If this is the debut album, I can't wait to hear what the sophomore full-length is going to sound like. But yeah, other than that, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with all the track listings. Comes with a mini poster on one side and all the lyrics for the songs on the other. And this LP pressing comes on a red LP, which is really cool because this is the Canadian exclusive Royal Mountain press, and that's a first press, which is limited to 500 copies, and I know all the other pressings are put out through Sub Pop. As well too, I have the follow-up EP by Orville Peck, Show Pony. Bought this immediately, just knowing the fact that it's new material by Orville Peck. I didn't give a fuck, I had to buy it. And the two songs in here I really dig a lot are No Glory in the West and Drive Me Crazy. Because Drive Me Crazy is about two truckers that just love each other and they wish they could hook up, but they can't because they're always on the road. So yeah, leave it to Orville Peck to make a song about two gay truckers that can't get with each other. Just sounds so emotional and so captivating. Like, that song is awesome. So definitely check out the track Drive Me Crazy is my personal favorite. But yeah, it's just an EP. It only contains 6 songs. One of them is a cover, I believe. And yeah, it's just Orville Peck continuing on with his musical career. So again, it just leaves me wanting more by him. So any day he'll release his sophomore full length and I can obsess over his music all over again. But yeah, this is really easy to get. I'm pretty sure you can get it at either Sub Pop, and yeah, all this stuff should be widely available for the most part with all the popularity he's been gaining over these recent years. As for the layout and packaging with this record, you have album artwork, backside with all the track listings. Comes with a fold-out sheet of the man himself and just lyrics on the other side. And this LP pressing comes on purple. And right back to black metal we go, because next up is Owl's Blood. This is the compilation of Lunar Equilibrium in Eerie Watercolors. Owl's Blood is a Spanish black metal band that is just honestly black metal meant for black metal fans. There's nothing really that I could describe it with adjectives that you haven't heard of before with other black metal bands, like, you know, the raw production, raspy vocals that are retched, really just tremolo pick guitars throughout, drumming that's just basically blast beats with nothing really fancy. I think, however, what gets it just so much respect is just how reliable and suit and tie that it is. That, again, as I stated, if you're a black metal fan, you'll immediately resonate with it, and definitely gets a lot of respect within the black metal fan base. Other than that, there's really, again, nothing else to say about these guys. They haven't released all that much. I mean, this compilation right here, their 2 releases, makes up like over 3/4 of everything they've released. So, I don't know, they've been quite silent recently, but again, if you're in the mood for just stripped down, really reliable sounding black metal, definitely make Owl's Blood a name to pick up on. Anyway, other than that, for the layout and packaging, very bare bones as you would guess. So it has album artwork, backside with the track listings, comes with an insert sheet with lyrics on both sides, and as you would guess, a standard black vinyl, limited to 500 copies. Second to last of this vinyl collection part is going to be Owl's Blood with their debut album, Cold Night of Meditation. Wow, this album is incredible. I know I just said earlier that their style is nothing different for black metal. All the adjectives you heard time and time again describing raw black metal and bands like this you can attach with Owl's Blood. But Cold Night of Meditation honestly is kind of beautiful sounding for this style. Like, it's just atmospheric enough to be, like, I would say almost breathtaking. The riffs on here just feel more livened up. And I don't know, there's just a bit of melody sprinkled throughout it that just gives off like this very, like, again, gorgeous sound. Like, I know it's such a weird way to describe it for a band like this, but it's just a really gorgeous sounding raw black metal album, and I dig it a lot. And I wish they would do more, because this is the last thing that they did, and I believe it was released around like 2016 or 17, if I'm not mistaken. And they haven't done anything after this, so whatever they do in the future, if they're still active and it's just even half as good as this, I'll definitely be all over it. But yeah, definitely get accustomed to listening to and knowing of Owl's Blood solely because of Cold Night Meditation. It is such a gorgeous work of raw black metal, which is not something I say easily because this style of music is anything but gorgeous, but Owl's Blood made it work with just their very simplistic approach for this style, and it works so well. Anyway, other than that, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with all the track listings, and just comes on again another standard black vinyl. And the last record for this vinyl collection part is going to be Oxxo Xoox with their debut album, Revert. Hopefully I said that somewhat right, probably not, because this band created their own language for all the lyrics and titles within it, so however I pronounce that is definitely off. But Oxxo Xoox is the side project to all the members that sadly used to be in Igor. Lorray and Laurent, who used to be in Igor, when they were active, they were a part of Oxxo Xoox. And I have such a difficult time describing to people what Oxxo Xoox sounds like. I know it's labeled a funeral doom metal band, but that's not even close to what it is. Yeah, there's doom metal influence within it, but there's also electronics and just, sounds that just, what exactly is this? It's very emotive, yes, and you can tell by it just from how the vocals and verses are exchanged within the tones of their voices, but it's just so weird. It really feels like you're on an alien planet listening to an alien make music. I really wish I was better at describing what this sounds like. No matter how much I prep myself for talking about Oxxo Xoox, I can't tell you. It's one of those bands you have to listen to it to just understand it, I guess. There's just such weird, psychedelic, trippy, unorthodox sounds that it's what the fuck do I compare this to? And I think that's really the selling point about Oxxo Xoox for me. It's nothing bombastic or crazy, but more of a slow burn in a very weird way. I guess, kinda. Again, as I stated, you have to listen to them to understand it. But yeah, it's a very emotive, funeral, doom, trippy, experimental. You get the gist by now. But yeah, originally put out through Blood Music. Not sure if these are even available anymore. And I know they're still active. They released an album only 2 years ago, so hopefully they keep up with it. But there's 3 full lengths they've done in total. As for the layout and packaging within this record, you have album artwork, backside, comes on a gatefold, and this LP pressing comes on black with blue swirl. Alright guys, that'll do it for this vinyl collection part. Like always, links will be provided to everything I talked about in the description below. And that is that. So like always, make sure you guys drink plenty of water to stay hydrated, and have a great day.